What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a presentation about the history of Waterford, New York, and some of the history of the Harmony Mills in Cohoes, New York. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, Waterford was incorporated in 1794 and is the oldest incorporated village in the United States of America. Here's a postcard of the Waterford Church and the old rectory around 1917 or the 1920s, and the church was built in around 1911. And you could see that beautiful old rectory there. Unfortunately, that's no longer there today. It has a modern-looking new style stone house for the rectory. The older one, much more beautiful and elegant. You could see like very much, kind of almost Victorian style. Here's a 1913 postcard showing Broad Street. Beautiful clock tower. Here's Broad Street with the trolley going through. This is Camp's Grill. If you know where McGreevy's is in Waterford, the restaurant, it was located in the same building. It basically was a grill that had a bar and it also had a bowling alley. This image here is from the 50s, and so is this one. I believe it might be a little bit newer, maybe 1960 or 59. So Camp's Grill was a very popular hangout, and Lazzaro Campoli purchased the grill located at the corner of Broad and 4th Street around 1935. The site had previously been the McGreevy Northern Hotel, started by Irish-American John McGreevy. Shortly after he took over the grill, he added a 4-lane bowling alley, which quickly became a popular hangout spot. After Camp passed away, his relatives, the Bacciaccis, took over the operation. The family lived above the grill, and each family member helped the business to succeed. Mrs. Bacciacci was known as being the boss, but she was friendly and welcoming. If a patron put coal in the fires, he found a beer waiting for him at his stool as a thank you for his help. The all-consuming life of running a grill made the Bacciacci's holidays and special events different from other families. They celebrated holidays very late at night after the grill was closed, and held family parties right in the grill or in their upstairs apartment. The business was given up in 1977, and the building now is McGreevy's Restaurant. Here's a picture of the bar in Camp's Grill. Here's an image of Laporte's General Store in 1939, and it was located at 54 Clifton Street, and the building was built in 1930. Here's George and Meekan's store. You can see it says Tobacco, Cigars, Confectionery, Newsroom, 66, 68. And then he's got 2 Soconi Special gas pumps. And then I believe this right here is oil. George N. Meekan was born in Lansingburgh, New York in 1869 and moved to Waterford at a very early age. He eventually married Rose Doherty. Spending most of his life in Waterford, Meekan became interested in photography, taking shots of Waterford from the late 1800s into the 1940s. Meekan's photographs, many of them postcards, became so numerous and sought after, it is now referred to as the Meekan Collection. Meekan also ran a newsstand / variety store in Waterford for almost 30 years. Meekan died on December 7, 1946, at the Leonard Hospital in Troy. His wife, Rose, ran the variety store until her death in 1951, and their son Warren took over until his death in 1964. The gas pumps outside the store offered Socony special gasoline. His grandson James took over after that until his death, which is unknown when he died. His son Warren was born in 1896, and the store opened in 1907. Here's an image from 1912 showing the toll house and the bridge in these two buildings, which are no longer there because there's a park there now. Trolley tracks and a trolley. Then you could see the new Waterford Bridge with this building across the way in Lansingburg. Here's some information about the James A. Glavin / C.A. Bleebtree and Sons building. This old and well-established business house at the northeast corner of Broad and 3rd Streets can be traced for over a century. The first obtainable reference says that in 1841 it was operated as a store by Henry Ten Brock. The first record of ownership reports that in 1873 it was owned by Hugh Cannody and sold to Stephen Villey. The other owners, such as William Gordon, Arabella, and Mary Anderson, appeared. It was next owned and occupied by former Waterford supervisor James H. Glavin as a busy and hustling grocery center in 1901 or perhaps before. Here a number of clerks bustled about daily, supplying customers and delivery wagons on the road. Delivery being the custom in those days before the entry of the chain stores from which you must now haul your own stuff. These were also the thoroughgoing days, when James H. Glavin, for example, did not buy tea in small packages. The grocery owner tested each large batch of tea before acceptance in cute little cups and boiling water. He also tested big firkins of butter with a special tool to discover if the butter was also good in the middle of the container as well as at the top. This accounted for the popularity and longevity of the Glavin store, for he dealt with quality products. After Mr. Glavin's death, the building and store was purchased by Charles Bleebtree and Sons, who conducted the same high-grade store which had existed for so many years. In addition to groceries, Joseph Bleebtree added meat to his quality products. He also had an auto delivery truck, which feature gave the necessary competition to the invading chain stores, which lacked this important service. After many years of useful work, the meat and grocery business was given up in 1955 upon the death of Joseph Bleebtree. Here's an image of Scannell's drugstore on the left, showing the angle down 3rd Street. Here's another image where you could see they're advertising soda out front of the drugstore. You could see J.H. Glavin, grocer, mural on the side of the grocery building, and then you could also see Peter Schuyler, bread. And then the Scannell's drugstore, the first image is from 1916 and the second is from 1901. It probably opened around 1901 or earlier, or late 19th century. It likely closed around 1940 or later. Both images, it's looking down 3rd Street with the building on the left. Here's a pottery jug that's stamped J.I.N.C. Scott Druggist, Waterford, New York. And in 1835, James and Charles Scott owned a drugstore on the corner of Broad and 3rd Streets. No information is known about the Samuel Drake drugstore, which is briefly mentioned in a Waterford history book. That's going to be it for this presentation, so let's go on to the next. So, the topic of this presentation is about a particular pharmacy in Waterford, New York, a very famous one that was around for a very, very long time. And that pharmacy was the John Higgins & Co. pharmacy, which had been open since 1844. Dr. Higgins, or John Higgins, was born in 1819 in Lichfield, England. He died on March 14, 1897, and the pharmacy was in business from 1844 to 1979. John Higgins Drugstore can be called Waterford's pioneer store, its business name remaining for 112 consecutive years and still continuing. It was also solely conducted by the Higgins family and his descendants for 106 years. John Higgins came from England in 1837, and after working for a period of time for a New York druggist, entered the United States Navy, where he probably worked as a surgeon. In 1844, he came to Waterford, where he established the pharmacy that still bears his name. In 1873, son-in-law George H. Cole entered the store partnership. In 1897, Mr. Higgins, who bore the honorary name Dr. Higgins, died. In 1908, George Cole died, and a grandson of the founder, John H. Cole, operated the store until his death on November 20th, 1950. Everest F. Roy then bought the store from the Cole estate and operated this busy place as in the days of the old, when its familiar mortar and pestle indicated its mission. Here's a 1960s postcard showing a Rexall drug sign and then a drug sign with the John Higgins & Co. store right there. And then the John Higgins & Co. pharmacy sign up there. Then you can see a dry cleaners. And then the picture on the bottom right is of a local history museum that's in Waterford, New York. So if you're ever looking for a museum in Waterford or the Cohoes area, that's a great one to check out. Though it is only one floor, it's still a really cool experience. If you're around there, check it out. It doesn't cost much to enter, and they have quite a wide variety of items in there. This cart was used in the village of Waterford to deliver goods from the John Higgins & Company Pharmacy, which was located at 63 Broad Street, believed to be one of the oldest continually operated drugstores in the United States. You could see it there. These are two of the different bottle variants from the pharmacy. Both say John Higgins & Co., Waterford, New York, the old store. The only difference is the old store's in the middle, and this one, it's down here. And this one has cursive writing, this one does not. There is a third variant. The only difference is it says Druggists and then Waterford, New York on the bottom. Here is the white sign that was in the 1960s postcard today. And as you can see, it's pretty worn away, but still visible. John Higgins & Co., the old store. John Higgins & Co., pharmacist since 1844. Here's an aerial view. And you could see a Coca-Cola sign behind it. And the same sign from Coca-Cola on the back. Here is an older sign that was up there that also said drugs prescriptions, John Higgins & Co. This was before 1914. Then you could see they put a Coca-Cola sign up there. This is still before 1914. And then this is after 1914. Most likely they put the sign on in the 1950s or 40s. And they painted it right over the Coca-Cola sign. And then this is a picture of the drugstore from the 40s. You can see the Rexall Drugs sign on the front. You can see it says United Cigars, Drugs, 63, J. Higgins, Drugs, Candy. Then you could see a Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company store. And then you could see Mobil Oil, Gas, Socony. And you could see C.A. Bleebtree and Sons Grocers. Here's a close-up of that Coke sign. You can see above it still says the old store for John Higgins. And then you could see Relieves Fatigue, sold everywhere, 5 cents. Those are some things that hold the building together. Here's some other bottles that I saw online. And then, such as a trip to the pharmacy, life on Broad Street, with stories about the young boys who pushed the cart itself, and many more are invoked. One story that I recently heard was from the mayor of the village of Waterford, Bert Mahoney. He and I happened to be in the building where the pharmacy used to be located, and I mentioned the cart to him. I asked if the old delivery cart used to sit in the window over there. Just a mention of the cart, and he started telling me about some of the experiences in the pharmacy. Turns out that he used to work in the pharmacy, and he wanted to tell me where things were located and how he used to watch the pharmacist mix up the drugs in the back room. Here's my bottle. I eventually have another one now, medium size, has a very tiny lip damage mark, and my other one has a little tiny heel damage mark. And I got it for free at a bottle show. The other one I got in an antique store in Boston Spa. And that's gonna be it for this one. And then now we're gonna go to another Waterford presentation. This is showcasing all the different pharmacies from Waterford, New York. Here's John Higgins & Co., the old store, pharmacy. You can see the 3 different variants. Here's the 2 different variants of the T.J. Scannell's drugstore bottle. Here's the leading druggist Edgar C. McCullough drugstore. You can see the cursive variation, the other variation which has the street name and the word druggist. Here's M. Barkman & Co. pharmacist, Broad Street, with a mortar and pestle. Here's D.D. Steenberg pharmacist. And then here's that vase again from GI and C. Scott druggist. I'm not quite sure if they had a bottle from there, but I know they had a pottery jug, so they could have. And then I'm not sure if Samuel Drake would have had one or not, but no information is known about that particular pharmacy. Next up is a small presentation with some images and dates about the Harmony Mills, which was the largest textile mill complex in the world. How did Cohoes get nicknamed Spindle City? Following the construction of the original Erie Canal and Champlain Canals, due to the abundance of water power, the city experienced rapid growth as a manufacturing center. By 1870, Cohoes earned the nickname Spindle City, with 6 large cotton mills running 203,000 spindles. Here's an overview of the site. So, basically, the canals are filled in now, and the only mills that are left are mills number 1, which is here, mill number 3, and this little area here, which is the picker house and the waterworks, and then this mill here, mill number 4, and then mill number 6, which is not on this part of the map. It was down in downtown area. Mill number 5 burnt to the ground along with the little building next to it and the chimney. These little add-ons to mill number 4 and the smokestack are gone. Mill number 2 burnt down in 1995. And the smokestack and this catwalk are gone, and the smokestack here is gone. And then the connection to this building to the mill number 1's gone. And then this building and this building behind mill number 3 are gone, as well as that smokestack. And then this building here was the carpenter shop, that's gone too. This building here is also still there. It was like the office. That smokestack there is gone. Here's another overview image. Here's mill number 1, which was built in 1825. Here's mill number 2, built in 1866, which burned down in 1995, and that is a old photo. It's basically a kind of set of postcards. And then mill number 3, built in 1873. And then this is mill number 4, built in pre-1862, known as the jute mill. And then there is mill 5, built in 1846. And if you didn't know, the strong mill did burn down at one point, but it was rebuilt. But then, if you go there now, the site is now the Cohoes Waterford Elks Lodge, and you could still see remnants of the building. So most likely the building burned down, and it's unknown when it did, because most likely it wasn't demolished. It must have burned down, though there's no information about it burning down a second time or a date about that. Here's mill number 6, built in 1844. Known as the Ogden Mill at first, but it was bought by the Harmony Company, and it was one of their last mills to convert. And it's still around today. And all the remaining mills have been turned into apartments, though the Picker House and Waterworks are one are still around, and one of them has a body shop inside, and the other one still serves as the Waterworks. And the map of the property is basically based off a map of 1911 that is in beautiful condition. That's still in mill number 3. And mill number 3 is registered as a historic structure. And if you didn't know, they found a mastodon when they were building the 3rd mill in 1873. If you're looking for history books on Cohoes and Waterford, some great books to look into are the Cohoes regular book and the Cohoes postcard style book from Arcadia Publishing. They have lots of great information, context, and images to work with if you're looking for new information, as well as the Waterford book. If you'd like to learn more about the A&P grocery store, they have a great book on that too, if you're looking for one of those. And that is basically gonna be it, so I will see you guys next time.